thank you guys so much for watching. This is The Social Life, the place to be for entrepreneurs with a purpose. And today I'm interviewing Emily Wells, and she is a brand design expert out of Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah. And I'm so happy to have you on because I got hooked up with you just off of Instagram. Mm-hmm. And I thought your images were really beautiful. And then I went to look at your website and I was like, oh my gosh, this girl like has it all together, like the way that you set up your process and lots of different levels for people to join in and really take part in your design work. And so I really want to kind of dive into how you got started and kind of like your journey into design.
Yeah. Well, isn't it crazy that we kind of met on Instagram, which is how so many relationships and business relationships are formed these days. I think it's crazy and amazing as well. And I'll just say kind of with that in mind, I think so much of my business success has come from the branding side of that and kind of realizing, you know, what my niche is and my target audience and how I want that to look and everything. So I think it's just so neat that we were able to connect through that platform. And
I do too. I think it's so cool that it's like an evolution in branding. You know, you're talking about your niche. I mean, a lot of people feel like you have to come out right away and know exactly who you're speaking to. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's good to work on that, of course.
Yes.
But, you know, that evolves by what comes to you.
It does. Yeah.
How did you get to this point where, I mean, I really do consider myself design challenged. Like,
yeah,
it just does not click with me. I don't even understand how your brains are able to work that way.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, it's absolutely kind of an evolution and a process, and it's constantly being refined and all of that great stuff. But yeah, I'll just kind of share a little bit of my story. So, going way back, when I graduated high school, I was, you know, in a position where like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And so I took a year off, didn't go to college right away, and I just worked a full-time job as a receptionist. And I actually, at that job, had a copy of Photoshop on my computer. So in my spare time, I just kind of taught myself some basic design things. Yeah. And my job actually had me start doing like flyers and stuff like that. And through that, I actually started a little stationery business. I was one day just like playing around with it, was like, I could make myself note cards. And then it was like, I could make other people note cards. And so I think
stationery, by the way, so I understand.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of where my love of both design and like entrepreneurship was kind of born.
Yeah.
So I started a little stationery business, and that was rocking and rolling for a little while. And then I really decided to just go full-time into college for graphic design. So I studied design and kind of kept the stationery business running. And then about halfway through, I started taking on larger design projects, you know, working with companies, working with nonprofit organizations, things like that. And my goal was to be able to graduate college and go into a full-time design business. So I really just worked my tail off through school to kind of make that happen. But I graduated in 2013, and I was a little bit older, but it worked. So I was able to kind of start full-time into a design business.
And this was your own personal business, correct?
Yeah, it was.
It's huge. To come right out of college and be doing that right away is huge.
Yeah, it really, I'm so thankful. And really, I worked my tail off through school and just kind of, you know, got a lot of clients under my belt and everything. And so I'll say, like, for the first probably 2 years, which is a season that I know a lot of entrepreneurs are in when they first start their businesses, is I was in the yes season. You know, I just kind of said yes to any and every job that came my way. It didn't matter the company, the project, you know, it didn't matter. I was taking it on. So it looked so different. You know, one day I was designing a wedding invitation for a bride, and the next day, you know, I was working with a car company, or like one of my like most kind of out of the box clients. I worked with a junkyard. And so, yeah, it's like, it's so funny kind of seeing my brand now and knowing that those were the early days is,
Yeah. But it's also part of the growth phase. It's like, it's figuring out what you like and what you don't like. It's part of the process. Totally.
It absolutely is. Yeah. And so I kind of, it's a funny story, but I kind of had one of my light bulb moments when I was working with the junkyard. I was taking some pictures for their website, and it was raining. And so I was standing like in mud, and my job was like literally taking pictures of trash. And it's like, how do I make, these piles of trash look somewhat appealing for a website? And so it was kind of in that moment where I was like, is this really what you signed up for and like what you wanted out of, a business and design and all of that? And so that's kind of when I started the journey of branding myself. And what I kind of realized through that process was I was branding myself at the time as the yes girl and kind of being the jack of all trades.
Right.
And that's really hard to market and really hard to brand. And so creating a brand that appeals to a bride who wants a wedding invitation and someone who owns a junkyard, those two things just don't mesh. And so I was just known as a graphic designer. And that's what people were hiring me for, was to do graphic design projects. If you went to my website, you would just see all the projects that I'd done. You wouldn't kind of see, okay, this is her aesthetic. This is the work that she does best. This is who she works with. This is kind of her specialty, things like that. So I started the branding process on my own, and a lot of it was just really diving into a lot of different education materials and just kind of figuring out, what does all this look like? What's the importance of it? Different things like that. And so I put a lot of work into the behind the scenes side of it, and I sat on it for a long time. Like, I was filled with a lot of fear that, if I really kind of niche down and put this specific brand out there for a specific type of person doing a specific type of work, is it going to make sense? Am I going to lose business? Will I lose money? All of those fears that I know we all have when we make changes in our business. But just through kind of the advice of mentors and other business friends, I did launch that new brand. And it's crazy that like the exact things that I was afraid of were actually the exact things that needed to happen for like major growth to happen in my business.
Exactly. And almost the exact opposite is what ends up coming to you from like once you're worried about niching down. And that's one of the things I feel like, talking to you about design and all of that stuff, and even just branding in general, and hearing your story, I think it's just part of the evolution too. Like, you're so worried, like, if I niche down, gosh, like then I'll be missing all of these people.
Yeah.
People get in that, shiny thing syndrome, where you're like,
absolutely.
Yeah. But that's totally the opposite of what happens.
Yeah, it really is. And it was amazing to kind of see. And so for me, my income actually doubled like from one year to the next after making that jump. And I've actually seen that for several of my clients. Like they'll tell me like from one year to the next, it literally doubled. And I just think that speaks so much to the importance of branding and the importance of, that clarity in what you're going for and kind of having that confidence in your brand. And those are two things I actually say that there's like 3 C's that come with building a good brand. And that's clarity, confidence, and consistency.
I love that.
Yeah. And it's just really like a coincidence that they're all C's. But clarity is just kind of, establishing your brand, both the visual identity and the non-visual identity. And once you have that clarity, your yeses become a lot easier and your nos become a lot easier.
So does your clients.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it becomes really easy for you as you move forward in your business and knowing the type of decisions that you're going to make. And it also makes it easy, like you were saying, for your clients to consume your brand, to know, okay, I can go to her because she's an expert in this. And so I think clarity is important. And then confidence, I use the example because I've absolutely been here myself of Have you ever been embarrassed to tell someone your website or hand out a business card? And, I've absolutely been there myself. And I think that ultimately, if you're not confident in your brand, you're holding yourself back from making money.
And you don't say anything about it. You really don't. You're like, I'll send you a link to a portion of where I want you to look.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll send you to this one project or whatever. But, I remember back in my early days, I would look at people who I would consider a dream to work with, that ideal client. And there was a disconnect, because it's like, if I were to send them to my website now, it's not something that they would be interested in. Right. If I have this ideal client that's interested in, a beautiful brand and, consistent, whatever it may be, and they go see a junkyard, it's not going to make sense. So I think that confidence in your brand is really, really important. And like I said, it's, you'll end up eventually holding yourself back from growing, making more money, just growing in your business if you don't have that confidence. And then the final C, being consistency, really goes hand in hand with the clarity. But, I think that it's really important that your branding is consistent. And just going back to that clarity, it makes it so easy for you as you move forward, and it makes it so easy for people to consume your brand. And it's like you establish these things and all you do is stay within the lanes. Like, it's that easy.
It is that easy. And your only focus after that, truly, even after I worked with you, and I wasn't having necessarily an issue of people finding me, because it was more through YouTube, and for you it seemed like it was more through Instagram. And so I wouldn't have even known what your website looked like until I decided to move past Instagram. But the other piece of that, and it happens to be another C that I talk about all the time, is connection. Honestly, when I saw your brand, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Like, everything about it is so pretty. And it just spoke to me. And I was like, this is what I want, because I don't know. And I want to go into your branding process, because your process really is for someone, and I'll say for myself, at least, it's for someone who, I can't take a blank slate and make something. I don't know exactly what I want. I just know the colors I want. And I think this is how we started on the email. Like, I said, I know the colors I want, and I know what I want it to say, and I know that I like feminine things, and that's it. And then, you have your whole, I won't go into your system, but I'll let you explain that. But the connection was really there from the very beginning. When I saw your Instagram, I was like, whoa, this girl is totally that's my girl.
Yeah.
And so that is such a strong piece. And how did you get that? How did you come up with that piece for yourself?
Yeah. So it absolutely didn't start off that way. If somebody ever wanted to do a scroll and just dive deep into my Instagram, they would see it's not always looked as pretty as it does now. But I think, again, that's really just a testament to the initial work that I did in establishing my brand. And there's a piece to that specifically that I think really helped me, and that was creating a visual mood board, and establishing my color palette and things like that. And from that, it's something that I printed out, I kept in front of me at all times, and I said, okay, this is my visual brand, this is my aesthetic, so all of my decisions I'm going to weigh on this. And it wasn't an overnight thing. It took some learning and experimenting as far as Instagram specifically goes. But now it's so easy. It's I can post pictures, in 5 minutes, because I know what the brand is. I know the colors that they need to be, all of that. So,
filters, filter, no matter what. And I have to just talk to you about that really quick on Instagram, because I kind of told myself, I am not going to do this whole Instagram perfect picture thing. But I will say that just even adding one filter onto all of your pictures, and I don't even know what it does, but adding one filter has made a significant difference than just putting up your basic pictures.
It absolutely does. And that's actually where I started. So Yeah, so for me, it was kind of like, okay, how do I even begin with this like consistency thing at all? And that's the first thing I did, is start with that one consistent filter. And that's such a, I think it's such a good, first of all, it's such a great idea because it automatically provides that consistency. But it's a great exercise in kind of learning, okay, how does this whole thing work? Like it's just a good learning process in general. Yeah, and I would say too, going back to like speaking on like your ideal client, for instance. I get that question a lot, like, how do I get my ideal client in my inbox? And for me, I think it's actually like a lot of the work is like in the very beginning. It's like knowing who that person is, knowing, what it is that they want to see, and then speaking directly to that person. And then once you're kind of doing that, then they automatically just connect with what you're doing. Right. And so, I think a lot of it is just that initial work of building your brand and establishing those things. And then it just kind of happens, which is really cool. But yeah.
And I think you're totally right with a lot of people, what I think I love about what you do is that most designers, and I didn't know this until we just started speaking, so I'm learning this too. But most designers really focus on the design aspect, and that's all they really focus on. Mm-hmm. I love that you kind of have a holistic approach, and that, you're trying to figure out, because I say this all the time, and I have like a whole target customer, like find your perfect customer, whole work. Yeah. Actually, I was going to send it to you to make a workbook for me.
Yeah.
Well, but it's just, it's a thing to work through, because it asks you certain questions that you need to know, and also doesn't allow you to lose yourself. And one of the things, as an example that I use is like, I'm super feminine. All my stuff, it's pink, it's hot pink, but it still does, it doesn't have to necessarily be attracting men, but if my value is there, right, then that will attract them. And
for sure,
your brand doesn't, like I tell people all the time, don't get stuck on your name. Just pick a name and go,
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think in a lot of different aspects of building your brand, there's a lot of different areas where it's easy to get stuck, whether it be picking your name, or whether it even be like picking your colors, or like, the style, or the aesthetic. There's so many ways where we can just hold ourselves back because we're faced with so many decisions. It's like you hop on Pinterest and it's like, oh, I like that, and I like that, and I like that. So how do I choose? Exactly. And my advice to people, just like you said, is make a decision, decide what it is. And then if it evolves later on, which it will, it's going to be refined, as like we talked about in the very beginning, be okay with that. Be okay with how it evolves and how it's refined. But make those decisions, go ahead and move forward. And then you're going to learn so much through that process. And then, if it changes down the road, then at least you're that much further ahead.
And that's so true. I mean, and that's why I have to go here, because I want to know what you do. Yeah. But that's why I think your process is so unique and so good, because I think when you're a busy entrepreneur, or you're trying to build a business, or you're trying to build a brand, whatever it is, you don't always have that time to think through, there are some people out there that are, they have a specific thing in mind that they want made. And I think you have a perfect plan for those types of people. But for the person that is a busy entrepreneur just getting started, but you need something up, and you want something you're proud of, you have all of those, they're packages, right? Is that what you call them?
Yes.
And that's what I love. I mean, that made the design process so doable. It made it so that it was like fun, and I could see like, okay, and you let me see it, I think, is kind of what I needed. I needed to be able to see my colors, my palette, and I wasn't stuck with it.
Yeah.
And that to me, I know I'm like a little infomercial for you right now, but
I love it. And it's just so great for me to hear that, because that was the goal with building the collection. And so to hear that that's what's happening is just really exciting for me to hear. But
how did you get there? Like, how did you even come up with that idea of, I'm just going to create these collections for people?
I definitely, I wanted, like you said, like a budget-friendly, time-friendly option for busy entrepreneurs, you know, people who have this business idea who are like, I just am ready to get something up and running. And that's kind of where the idea came from. But with it being, you know, a quick turnaround and a little bit more budget-friendly, I didn't want people to have to sacrifice on good design. So I wanted people to have, you know, there's a lot of options online, like where you can get a quick logo.
Yeah.
But for me, it's really, really important that you have that complete brand system. That's so important to me. And it goes back to like those 3 C's that I said in the beginning, that consistency, you know, and that confidence and that clarity. You know, when you have your established color palette, when you have your established fonts and all those things carrying out.
And your established backgrounds. Sorry,
Yeah.
I've used those backgrounds.
Oh, good.
Like as a transparent background, it's amazing. Like I'm just gonna like really quick. If you have not seen the website, you should go and just check it out because there are so many different types of collections that she's talking about, that you can just build your specific brand off of. So it's more focusing on like, can I say typeface? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So actually, I'm not sure if they were named this when you and I worked together, but I actually renamed them to call them the semi-custom brand suites. And the reason I did is because it's important for me to know that, yes, they are like pre-designed or templates, as you would say, but it's really important for me. You know, I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't want something that 10 other people are going to have. Yeah, but it's really important for me, just as important for me as it is for you, that it looks different. You know, so you're allowed to change the colors, you're allowed to change the mood board images, and obviously it's your business name and your business information. So, you know, when we're done, it does look pretty different than how it started. Yeah. So, you know, the things that kind of stay the same are the types, the fonts, and kind of the way that they're arranged. But I really, I don't just kind of type it out. You know, I really kind of go through and make sure that it works with your business name and your colors and everything. So I renamed it the semi-custom just so people know, like, you know, you will walk away with a very unique brand to you, even though, you know, there's a set number of kind of pre-designed systems on there. It's still going to be unique to you when you walk away.
And you're totally right. It is so unique. I mean, I think that, and that's why I say your unique process, because it really is just a process that you've created for people to not have to put so much time and effort and come up with, like, I have no idea of the different types of fonts I could possibly have. No idea.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell my brand from the collections that you currently have. You know, I don't know. I can't even tell you which one I chose. I just know I liked it. And then when you showed me my stuff on it, I was like, oh my God, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So I think it's I just feel like you're hitting a niche area that is so perfect for people who just, they want a brand, but I don't have all this time to do all this thing. Right. You have another element that is all of the thinking and the mood boards and all that stuff. Tell a little bit about that too, for people who are in the market for that.
Yeah, so I have 2 other options that are just a more custom option. One is called the Complete Brand Design, and it's just that. I mean, it is, you know, we're going from start to finish, and you get everything that you need for your brand. We go through the custom process, and you're going to get additional design pieces included in that. So it's really just like, if you want it all, then that's kind of the process for you. And then I have one that's called the Simply Logo Design Package, which is the custom process, but it's just kind of the basics that you need to get started. So we go through the custom process, you get your logos and your variations, your colors, your fonts, you know, just kind of all those basic things. So regardless of which option you choose, you know, you're going to walk away with everything that you need for print, web, social media, all of that. You know, even with the semi-custom collection, you get several different file types. So no matter if it's print, web, social media, you know, you have everything that you need. You have them also in black and white. So if you wanted to pop one on top of a photo or something like that, you have that option. So that's definitely something that, regardless of which package you choose, I want you to be able to walk away with. But it's just kind of where you're at in your business. And if you see something that you like in the semi-custom collection, that's a great route for you. And if you are wanting something really custom, then the other two options are really good as well. And with those two options, like you said, we do go through a full mood board process, and we do a lot of diving deep work into who is your ideal client and your specialty and all those things. So there is a little bit more of that on the custom route.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of dependent upon where you're at in your business and what you're really looking for.
Yeah, no, I think it is amazing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
And the other thing too is that I also liked is once you're done with your branding process with you, which is very clear, and I love that, however many times you can go through and all of that, everything was very, very clear and laid out. But I also like that there were a couple of things that I wanted to add in, and there was an a la carte option, and I just feel like you've thought of, your customer so well. And I think that's what people need to understand about branding, is that when you know your customer really, really well, and that is your focus, and you're a customer centric business, you can really provide exactly what your customers need.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to upsell. You don't have to do anything. It's just you're providing what they need, and they can find it and explore it on their own. And it doesn't take as much work from your end.
Exactly. It's so true. And for me, I think the process has just come through learning that customer more and more. And, it also goes back to, I'm passionate about branding because it's really personal to me, and it's a personal journey that I went through myself. And, like I said in the beginning, I want my customers, no matter where they are in their business, to walk away with more than just a logo. And so with the semi-custom collection, you do get that full system, but you have the option to add on as well. And that's something too, no matter where you're at in your business, you could start with one package and build on it as you grow. So it's definitely something that can be kind of added on to, as your business grows, or as you just learn more things that you need. Like I've got this ebook, and I'm ready to have that branded. So yeah, it's just important to me that we're getting the whole thing, and not just one logo.
Yeah, no, and I love it. And Emily, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Go through a lightning round with you.
Yes. I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
Okay. So first question I'm going to ask you is, what's one organization or area that you support? Like, what's your fault?
I've actually worked with a handful of different ones, and I would say the ones that I've worked with, I've been able to help with the design side of things. So I've actually worked with the American Cancer Society and the March of Dimes. Those were two really cool projects that I've been able to help with. So when I'm able to help and use my design at the same time, that's really, really awesome and really, really great for me.
Yeah, that is. Okay, that's very cool. And one book you recommend for new entrepreneurs?
Yes, my favorite business book, hands down, it's called Essentialism. And it's by Greg, I think his last name is McKeown. It's like McKeown. So I think it's McKeown. But it's an excellent book, and kind of like honing in on your one thing, and not getting distracted with the shiny things like we talked about. So I would absolutely recommend that book.
Okay, I might have checked that out. I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's so good. So good.
All right. And one piece of advice you would give someone about starting up or building as an entrepreneur?
Oh man, I would just say take some time in the beginning to kind of get to know your brand. And like I said, make some solid decisions, even if you're hesitant, even if you're I'm not sure if my mind's going to change, that's okay. Make those solid decisions, and then just be okay with how it evolves and is refined later on. And stay unique to you, and unique to what you like and what you don't like. Just take some time to do some soul searching, and to do some visual searching. Hop on Pinterest and just kind of really discover what it is that you love and what it is that you don't love, and use that as you're building your brand.
I love that. That is the make the decisions, just make them is such a good piece of advice that I think a lot of people actually forget about.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah.
And then one thing that changed the game for your productivity, like do you have an app or do you have something that you do every morning? No, don't tell me about your morning routine yet, but something you do that like increases your productivity.
So I spent a lot of time just like over the years streamlining my business just with my systems and my processes. I'll say I've tried a lot of different apps, but at the end of the day, I'm actually like a paper and pen girl. Yeah. And so it's like at the end of the day, it's what I just always go back to. But I would say, especially before you get into seasons of overwhelm in your business, take some time to see like which areas you can kind of streamline just in terms of like, okay, I know that this is something I do every single day, or this is always an email that I write. How could I make this into a template? Things like that. Another thing that I do is I use QuickTime on my computer, and like a lot of times instead of walking someone through like in writing like a tutorial or something like that, I just do a quick screen record and send that on. That's been really helpful for me. So yeah, just kind of streamlining. Yeah.
The screen recording is the best thing ever. I actually I did that for one of my courses.
Yeah.
Recorded like going through an application, like going through everything just so that people could see.
Yeah.
And you can speak on those screen recordings too. So it's really helpful. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. And then lastly, what is one part of your routine that you could not live without?
I'm a coffee girl. Yep. If you see my Instagram, you'll see that there about every 5 or 6 posts, there's some type of cappuccino or something. So I usually always start my day with coffee, and then like around 1 or 2, I have another coffee. But it's so funny how like, I know so much of it is just in my brain. It's just like a ritual thing, but it's like, if I had my coffee, I can like sit down and like work for a solid several hours, and I'm like, good to go. So yeah.
That's so funny. That is so true though. Like it does kind of make a difference, and I know it's all up here, but.
And it is.
Well, thank you so much, honestly, for coming on. I really had a great time talking to you. I think there was a lot of good information here, and it was great to see your journey. I mean, I feel like people see people and then they're like, oh, I wish I was there. But, there was so much that happened before that. Right. So thank you so much. And I will be talking to you soon.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye.
Bye.